Hello everyone, how are you all doing? Now let's talk about the OCD Merry Go Round. Going round and round in the OCD cycle, feeling stuck, not getting anywhere, feeling like you're making no progress, going from trigger to trigger, setback to relapse, feel like you're just stuck in the OCD rut. Somewhere I was stuck for many times and for a long time, feeling totally stuck, feeling trapped, feeling lost, feeling hopeless. The guilt was through the roof, the anxiety was through the roof. Now, why was that the case? Well, that was because before I came to OCD recovery, I was not applying any unconditional acceptance. I wasn't looking at beliefs. I was just looking at exposures. Do this exposure, and then do this exposure, then you'll get relief, and then you can break down the fear, or just view it as a thought. It's only just a thought, move on. And I was thinking, well, if I'm convinced that the worst case is real, if I'm convinced that I'm going to jail for the rest of my life, if I'm convinced that this thought makes me a bad person, how can I just say it's a thought and move on? Because when it's 24/7 latched chronically, severely, you can't just say it's a thought and move on. And that is why we go around the OCD carousel, the OCD merry-go-round, just going round and round and round, not making any progress. Now, the reason that happens is because what people tend to do, they just apply the same methods and the same tools that's keeping them stuck in the first place. The constant reassurance seeking, the constant trying to work it out, the constant trying to get an answer. Oh, if I just work this one out, then I can get peace. If I just get an answer on this, then I can be anxiety and guilt-free. If I just figure this one out, if I just get the answer to this one, if I just get certainty on this thing, then that'll give me relief. That is a bluff. That is an illusion. That hasn't helped in the past, and it will not help in the future. You have to be very honest with yourself and think, well, what has not got me anywhere in the past? Now, how is doing it again going to get me anywhere in the future? Well, sorry to break your heart, and sorry to be brutally honest with you, it's not. Okay? Now, to recover and to get better and stay better from OCD, you have to hear things you do not want to hear. You have to be willing to listen and think, okay, I haven't thought of that before. Oh, I haven't tackled this. Oh, I haven't applied this. I haven't looked at this belief. I haven't tried that. Okay? If you find you are trying the same thing, getting told the same advice over and over and over and over again, and nothing's changing, no progress is happening, you feel just as stuck, then it's quite often that the in-depth belief work isn't happening. Looking at the core fears isn't happening. It's just a surface level. It's a thought, move on, do that exposure, and that'll confront the fear. That's not going to cut it. OCD recovery requires a deeper level of acceptance. And what we do here, and why, from my own personal journey, and many people that we coach, the reason we see people get better and staying better is because we apply unconditional acceptance and look at the irrational beliefs that you're currently holding, which then brings long-term robust recovery. So it's not just overcoming one fear or one trigger and then feeling good and then going back into the black soup, as Old Ellis calls it, going back into the depressive cycle, going back into the feeling stuck, feeling trapped, the guilt goes up, the anxiety goes up. Because for years and years and years, I was getting somewhere and I just kept going back. I kept slipping back up into the compulsive cycle again because it all felt real. Because what I was doing was still clinging on to reassurance. I was still doing compulsions. Okay? So when I was doing that, all I was doing was just fueling the cycle. Okay? And to actually get off of the carousel, to take a step off of the merry-go-round ride, we've got to think, right, what can I be doing differently? Where am I going wrong? What isn't helping? Okay? Now, unconditional acceptance, this was the missing component in my journey. This was the missing part in my journey. Because unconditional acceptance does exactly that. It gets under everything. The word unconditional, no conditions attached, no matter what. Even if you did this, even if your worst case was true, even if this thing in the past that you're constantly replaying, even if it did happen, how could you still accept yourself today and tomorrow and the next day after? Okay, now that's not agreement. Okay, you're not suddenly you're not agreeing with your worst case scenario, you're not wanting your worst case scenario, you're not liking it, of course not. But unconditional acceptance is very, very important. Okay? Another way to step off the carousel, another way to step off the OCD merry-go-round is by looking at irrational beliefs. Oh, amount of people that come into me and say, Sam, I just haven't been told about irrational beliefs before. I mean, I've heard of thoughts of thoughts, I've heard of exposures, I've heard of life structure, I've heard of just see it as a thought, don't engage. I've heard of all that, but I've never actually looked at irrational beliefs. And the reason we do that is because OCD takes orders from beliefs. The content of the thought is very important because it's showing you, it's slapping you in the face what you're scared of. It's going, look, you're scared of this. The reason the panic goes up, the reason the anxiety goes up, the reason you feel chronically guilty, the reason you feel very depressed, the reason you feel very shameful, very embarrassed, the reason you're in a self-pity party is because of the beliefs that you're holding. Because of the demands that you're holding, the catastrophizing, the low frustration tolerance, and I can't stand it, I can't bear it, I cannot cope with this anymore. The self-downing, okay, saying you're bad, saying you're worthless. Maybe you're downing other people, saying they're bad, they're worthless. Maybe you're downing life in general, berating life, rating life, saying, oh, my life's not worthwhile if I suffer of OCD. Oh, life will be worthless if this happened. Oh, life would be totally meaningless if I went to jail, if these thoughts kept happening, if this thing in the past happened 10 years ago, then my whole life's a waste of time. What's the point of carrying on? That is why you feel like how you do, because of those kind of beliefs. Okay, so when you start looking at irrational beliefs, when you start breaking down where you're going wrong with your perspectives and how they're holding you back, that is when the ball starts rolling. That is when the cogs start turning. That is when, for the analogy of this video, that is when we take a step off the merry-go-round, we go off the carousel and start walking towards freedom, okay? Otherwise, we just remain going round and round and round. Feel like we're getting somewhere and then back round you go. Feel like I'm getting relief here and then back round you go, because you then go clinging on to the reassurance. You go back down the confession cycle. You go back down the venting, the procrastination, the avoidance, all the other compulsions, the addictive behaviors, the whining, the complaining, the victimizing yourself. Why me? Why me? Why me? Why have I got to have OCD? If only this thing didn't happen in the past. If only I didn't have this thought. If only this sensation didn't latch. If only I just didn't read this article and it all was triggered from that. Okay? And that is what I hear all the time. Constant whining, constant saying, why me? Why me? If only this, if only that. Forget that. Think about today. Now, I'm currently recording this video on the 14th, let me just check, I think it's the 14th of June. I want to get the date right, that'd be pretty funny, wouldn't it? 13th of June, got the date wrong. So I'm currently recording this video on the 13th of June. And the reason I'm saying that is because I am focused on today. I'm focused on what's keeping you stuck today. Not what's keeping you stuck yesterday, or the day before, or 5 years ago, today, okay? And how your current beliefs are fueling that cycle. Remember, what's happened to us in the past, all the things we've been through, yes, that affects us. Yes, that impacts us. But your current philosophy, your current perception is what disturbs you today. Okay? And even more foolishly, you're clinging on to that today. And you're choosing to believe the irrational beliefs, the catastrophizing, the conditional acceptance of writing yourself off if the worst case was true, not making peace with worst case scenario. Those kind of beliefs and that kind of thinking is what's keeping you stuck today in the anxiety cycle, the OCD cycle, the guilt cycle, and so on. Okay? So let me just repeat this very important point. If you are stuck today, if you feel like you are just trapped and completely lost and not getting anywhere, you've got to ask yourself, what more can I be doing? Meaning, am I doing the same things over and over again and expecting change? Because I'm going to break your heart again, but if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, it's no surprise when things aren't changing, right? You've got a view. I'm not talking changing every day, because that becomes compulsive, right? If you were changing recovery methods every day, that ain't going to work. Right? It takes patience, persistence, and consistency, of course. But if you've been stuck for years, if you've been stuck for a long, long time, and there's just constant going back into the thick black soup, as Albert Ellis calls it, you've got to think, well, where am I going wrong? What can I be doing differently? Okay? Now, quite often, I kept going back. I kept backsliding. I kept relapsing and having setbacks and having triggers because I kept going back to the behaviors that didn't help me in the first place, because it was my safety, it was the comfort trap. Or if I just do this compulsion, or if I just try and figure this one out, or if I just get relief on whether it's real or not, then I can be guilt-free. Because it feels so convincing. I know that. It feels so real. Totally, I get that. I don't need persuading on that. I've lived that my whole life. I've had OCD. Okay, I understand how that feels. Okay, but you even know, I knew this myself. I knew that trying to work out, Sam, wasn't going to get any relief. But it just feels so damn convincing this time. It feels, no, this one's different. This one's the exception. This one's real. The previous one, that's OCD. This one's real. So if I just work this one out, then I can get relief. Then I can get an answer. Then I can live my life guilt-free. Then my life isn't ruined. I used to say it all the time. Oh, my life's ruined if I don't work this one out. Complete crap. It's the bluff. It's an illusion, okay? The illusion of certainty. You will not work that out, okay? Even if you found some kind of answer, OCD just switches up and finds something else, right? It morphs, it changes, it latches to something else. That's what it does. Okay, and that is why this video is titled The OCD Merry Go Round, the OCD carousel. We've got to think, how do I step off this ride? How do I get off that? How do I get off that carousel? Well, you have to look at unconditional acceptance, belief work, the behavior work as well, the things you're avoiding, the compulsions you're still doing. And look, well, I'm obviously not getting anywhere because I'm going round and round and round. I'm still stuck. I'm not getting anywhere. So what change can I make to my beliefs and my behaviors? Okay, that's very, very important. Otherwise, we tend to stay stuck. We tend to stay doing the same things over and over again and not seeing any results, not seeing any long-term robust results for recovery. Okay, very important to hear. If you need help looking at your specific fears, looking at your specific irrational beliefs, looking where you're going wrong with your perspectives, seeing how that avoidance isn't helping, seeing how that's a compulsion, seeing how you try and work that out because you're still scared of the worst case scenario. If you need help with that, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com and you can get in touch with one of the coaches here and we can book you in as soon as we can. So it is a tailored, specialized approach to your specific OCD journey, see where you're going wrong, see what's keeping you stuck. Regardless of the severity, regardless of how long you've been stuck, it's focused on today, the 13th of June, I'll get it right, the 13th of June, and what's holding you back, okay? When people come in and they feel totally hopeless, they go, well, Sam, I've been stuck for years and years and years. Okay, don't worry, let's focus on today, because all we can focus on today. You can't change the past. You can't go, oh, I wish I knew this 5 years ago. I wish I knew this 10 years ago. Irrelevant, okay? Yes, you may wish you know that, but you can't go back in 5 years. Unless there's a time travel machine, I'm not yet aware of it. Okay, focus on today, the 13th of June, or whenever you're watching this video, and what can I be doing today to step off the OCD carousel and go towards long-term robust recovery? Very, very important to hear.